Our next guest is one of our favorite writers. His latest book, America's Report Card, could very well do to the standardized test industry what Upton Sinclair's The Jungle did to meatpacking, but it's a hell of a lot funnier than The Jungle. He's going to read a bit of it right now, so please clap and cheer for our old friend, Mr. John McNally.
Did I just get booed? Before I began. All right, I'm not going to give much of a setup. This is just one of the protagonists of this book is named Janie O'Sullivan. She's a senior in high school, and everybody in the novel is trying to save her, but everybody's kind of fucking up in some way. So I'm going to read a little section first from her brother, who has moved up into the attic of their house after September 11th and has become kind of militant. Ned O'Sullivan didn't expect any thanks for the sacrifices he had made on their behalves, but it would have been nice if Janie or his mother let him know that they were at least aware he'd made sacrifices. What grown son in his right mind would continue living at home when he didn't have to? Ned sure as shit wouldn't have, but what was he supposed to do? Abandon both women the way his father had abandoned them? Nope, no sir, he wasn't going to do that. Even though Janie and his mother sometimes looked at him with the same repulsion that people usually reserved for beggars. If they knew their Bible, which of course they didn't, they'd have realized that they too had an obligation to beggars. It was right there in Deuteronomy. For the poor will never cease out the land. Therefore I command you, you shall open wide your hand to your brother, to the needy, and to the poor in the land. Not that Ned was a beggar, he wasn't. After lighting a candle, Ned popped the best of Great White, 1986 to 1992, into a CD player. When the first song came on, Step on You, he cranked the volume all the way up. He lay on the futon he dragged up into the attic. In his ongoing attempt to toughen his body, the Lord's vessel, Ned refused to use bed sheets or blankets, no matter how cold it got. He wouldn't use a pillow either. He would have preferred sleeping on a hard floor, but the attic wasn't finished, and it would have been difficult, though not impossible, to sleep across the 2x4s positioned narrow side up and spaced 5 inches apart. The attic wasn't such a bad place to live. Its only serious drawback was its height. The room was too low for Ned to stand upright, except where the steeped roof came to a point. So he practiced keeping his balance by walking barefoot along the narrow 2x4s that ran down the center of the attic floor, while his hair, sometimes standing on end from static electricity, brushed against the roof's uppermost peak. On dry nights, his hair actually sparked, and the room would momentarily light up. Tonight, Ned remained on his back. His goal was to lie perfectly still for the next 4 hours. The CD was on repeat, so there was no need to even twitch a muscle. His level of relaxation reached the point where his entire body seemed to be melting into the futon, as if body and futon were becoming one giant shapeless entity. For a moment, he felt as though he were floating through outer space. Ned, his mother yelled, Ned, would you shut that goddamn music off? Do you hear me? Shut that fucking music off now. Ned, listen to me. The entire neighborhood doesn't want to listen to that shit, and I'm not going to defend you when the police arrive. Are you even up there? Can you hear me, or have you gone deaf? Ned. It didn't bother Ned that she was yelling. Yelling kept her from smoking. Ned had heard somewhere that each cigarette took 5 to 20 minutes off a person's life. Therefore, the less she smoked, the longer she might live, and the longer she lived, the more likely it was that she would eventually come to appreciate him. I'm going out of my motherfucking mind, she screamed up to him. Oh my God, Ned, please turn it down, please. Great Whites all over now came on next. Only a year ago, more than 100 people died when a fire erupted at a Great White concert at a small club in Rhode Island. The band's pyrotechnics had started the fire. By all accounts, the club, which was made of wood and didn't have a sprinkler system, was a tinderbox waiting for the right confluence of factors. Glued to CNN, Ned spent the entire day watching grainy footage of the fire, people running, smoke filling the room, flames spreading. Dear God, his mother pleaded, why me? Why me? Ned remained frozen atop his futon, frozen but relaxed, staring up at the rafters. He'd stared up at these same rafters every day since September 12, 2001, the day he'd taken up permanent residence in the attic. But today was the first time that he saw the rafters for what they were, an upside-down ark. It was as if he were somehow hovering above an ark and looking down into it. Holy Christ, he said. In moments such as this one, Ned had absolutely no doubt that God was talking to him. There were people who believed that God spoke actual words to them, but those people were dipshits. God didn't speak in words, he spoke in images, and this was precisely how it happened when you least expected it. One minute, Ned was looking into the bottom of a plywood roof. The next, he was peering into the belly of an ark. And God wasn't going to spell out for Ned what it meant either. That was up to Ned. The more intensely Ned stared at the rafters, the closer he felt to achieving a greater understanding. Ned, you bastard, his mother yelled. You're just like your father, you know that? Always thinking about yourself and nobody else. Ned shut his eyes, and there it was. The fire in Rhode Island, the smoke and fire. But the band, Great White, they continued playing their first song of the night, Desert Moon. For the people inside the club, it must have been like being trapped on the sinking Titanic, everyone wearing life jackets and knowing their grim fates while the orchestra played Nearer, My God, to Thee. I get it, Ned whispered. I see. It was Peter who confirmed that God had created the earth and then devastated it with water. And it was Peter who delivered the warning that God would one day burn the entire planet. Was the end of the world coming? Would Ned become a modern-day Noah? Ned doubted that the end of the world was near, but he wouldn't have minded being Noah. Noah lived to be 950 years old. 950, and then he died. How fucking cool would that have been? The epiphany was within Ned's reach, and then it started to fade. Shit, he said. Whatever God was trying to tell him, it wasn't going to crystallize tonight. Shit, shit, shit. If I have to come up there, his mother yelled, you'll be sorry. Do you hear me, Ned O'Sullivan? Do you understand English? It was possible she had climbed up to the second floor and was now standing below the hatch to the attic. But Ned wasn't worried. The hatch was locked. This was as close as she was going to get. By Ned's rough calculation, she had already missed 2 cigarettes. Ned had given 40 minutes of life back to her. 40 minutes might not have seemed like a whole hell of a lot, but how many sons could say that they had given their mothers any life back at all?
Thanks, John.